Thank you, Pata sir. Good evening to all. Welcome to today's case discussion. I was expecting Dr. Pata to give me a break on weekends, but
Tomorrow is a holiday. Tomorrow is a holiday.
you have persisted with the okay. Now, before I actually go into the case proper, I just want to say a few words. I'm of the very strong opinion that clinical medicine can be very unforgiving, especially on that rare day when we take medicine for granted. We get a big slap on our face, and I have got many slaps whenever I take medicine for granted. It's not uncommon that we keep cutting corners almost on a daily basis. It's not our fault because we always have to balance it out. Regarding the number of investigations that we are going to do, most of the times we have to balance it out for various reasons. It could be a cost constraint, it could be a availability of the investigation, or it could be the availability of an expertise. And high quality expertise is always a problem. So all these things matters, how far you are going to investigate a patient. And when it comes to how far you are going to investigate, it is better to err on the side of over investigating and having the maximum preoperative information so that we have a plan. But there are situations where despite maximum investigating as far as possible, still we are stuck. We are in the crossroads, and definitely at that point we have to take a call. So the case that I'm going to present today will be one such case where despite extensive investigations, we were a little stuck. So I hope the panelists and the audience will help me in taking through this case, the various aspects of it. Now, this was a lady who was in her wrong side of the 50s. She had a recent history of development of jaundice. That's for nearly 2 to 3 months. And this was associated with pruritus as well as mild pain abdomen. There is no history of any fever, no history of other GI symptoms like weight loss or vomiting or any GI bleed. And she had a good performance status, and she had diabetes mellitus as well as systemic hypertension, both are comorbidities. Now, this patient was completely evaluated outside, and when she came to me, I had all the records. So the LFT was suggestive of a cholestatic jaundice with a bilirubin of 5.6. And there is no evidence of obvious cholangitis. And everything seems to be fitting with a cholestatic jaundice. Now, she came with an ultrasound which said there were cholelithiasis, multiple stones in the gallbladder. The intrahepatic biliary radicals were dilated, and the CBD was dilated till the lower end. That was the ultrasound report. So obviously, the radiologist himself has gone for an MRCP. That's one of the image for you. I can't give you all the images. This is one more slightly rotated image, where you can see the confluence. The obvious findings is dilated bile duct and dilatation of right and left and the IHBR.
Bye-bye.
And the distal end of the bile duct seems to be an abrupt cutoff. Always the panelist can, when I throw open, you can always give your opinion. So there seems to be an abrupt cutoff in the distal CBD. And the MRI report, MRCP report the radiologist gave was, there is an ill-defined mass lesion in the distal CBD with an upstream dilatation of the proximal ducts. And he has suggested for ERCP correlation. And there is also cholelithiasis. I always have a problem when radiologists suggest something like this, because they have to restrict themselves to arriving at a diagnosis. What's the most possible diagnosis? Invariably, in a defensive attitude, they always suggest something else, like ERCP correlation or like a biopsy. Especially this happens if you have a space occupying lesion in the liver, which is eminently resectable. They'll just say that for biopsy correlation, and somebody will do a biopsy. So I always have a problem when a radiologist suggests something which may not be what a clinician might want to do next. You know, that's I don't want to digress that, but this is a report that is given by the MRCP, and just want to take the opinion of the panelists. What is the thought process at this point of time?
Any view on PD?
PD is not dilated.
Not dilated. Okay. So I would think probably it is limited to the distal bile duct. My first choice of diagnosis would be stone.
Stones, okay.
Yeah, first. Second would be any other tumor.
Now, why do you say stones are first choice?
One, there is cholelithiasis. Two, if you see the LFT, OTPT is generally little more than what you would expect in a patient with a long-standing tumor-related obstruction.
Okay.
And three, this is not the classical convexity which you would expect, but nevertheless, it is not something like a tumor also. So it can fit in anywhere.
No, the abrupt cutoff is what is described as a cigar stub sign, which is a picture of a growth there. Usually, you correctly said that if there is a stone, you have a meniscus or
no, that is
something
if
like
the
that.
stone is rounded. If the stone is rounded, you can have a meniscus sign. You may not necessarily have a stone which is rounded. You can have a multifaceted stone which can give a picture like this.
Okay. Okay. So you have a stone as a first diagnosis, and second one is
any of the tumors generally, bile duct, distal bile duct tumor.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Not going up to PD.
But there are many cases where we have ampullary tumors or periampullary tumors where gallstones can be incidental finding. That's also there.
True. Also, I also said LFT also is suggestive of elevated OTPT, which normally you don't get to see in tumor obstruction without cholangitis.
Okay. Yeah, Prathapan.
I give ampullary tumor as the first possibility.
Okay.
The second possibility, there may be some coexisting stricture or some other lesions rather than a stone disease, because stone will invariably have a different appearance.
Okay. But you are thinking in terms of ampullary tumor or distal CBD tumor?
Most likely distal CBD, because the pancreatic duct has no affection by the level of tumor. So it may be just a little bit above the level of ampullary area.
Okay. So distal CBD. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gautam?
Apart from the points already mentioned by Bhaskaran sir, I think pain is one thing which again goes in favor of stones, and the type of jaundice the patient has been having for 2 to 3 months. Still, you have the bilirubin just going up to 5.6, and usually, if it's a malignancy, I expect it to be a lot higher level. It's likely to be a deeper jaundice. Okay. So, first possibility will be a stone, then followed closely by it.
Okay, but as far as this pain is concerned, though we teach the students if there is pain, we say the painless jaundice of periampullary tumor. But I have seen many patients with periampullary tumor coming with the first symptom will be pain only. I mean. Yeah,
I do agree.
Yeah.
I do agree.
Yeah.
Pain is not a rare symptom in ampullary tumor. And as the level of obstruction goes down, the incidence of cholangitis or a small amount of biliary infection is high rather than the higher up. So ampullary tumor, you can have pain of either cholangitis or obstruction of the pancreatic duct producing some sort of obstructive pancreatitis. So pain is not a very rare symptom of ampullary tumors.
So, but for distal cholangio, I thought it was more unless we have an concurrent
interventions.
But Jayanti madam is here, so what does madam comment? What does she say?
I agree to Dr. Shankar, that cigar butt sign, it's very characteristic of distal CBD carcinoma. So that's what I was thinking. I was not here for the initial history, but it looks more like a growth in the distal. But one thing is, most of these distal CBD tumors are all desmoplastic type. So most of them usually present as asymptomatic with raised enzymes, or they present as pruritus, and jaundice comes on much later because of the stricturous type of malignant lesion that occurs in these patients in the distal cholangiocarcinoma. So I think the distal cholangiocarcinoma is one possibility.
Okay. Dr. Palaniappan, you want to say something?
See, as far as after the discussion, there is nothing suggestive except it could be, maybe I may be wrong, it can be a disease of IPMN.
Okay, sir. IPMN, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you say that? What makes you to suspect IPMN, sir? Because pancreatic duct is not at all dilated and.
Is it a pancreatic IPMN or biliary IPMN?
You're talking biliary IPMN, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kanan?
I would suspect only lower end bile duct pathology, most likely malignancy, or maybe some benign lesion like papilloma or something.
Ubal?
IgG4 also.
IgG, okay, madam. Ubal?
So ideally, this MRCP, why it was done, I don't know, because if you have a clinical situation where the patient having a gallstone and a cholestatic liver profile with a history of pain, I think straight away the next option will be an ERCP.
Okay.
Because the pre-test probability of stone disease will be high whenever the bilirubin is more than 4.
Okay.
Here I think it is more than 4.5. Plus 3 to 6 months history, recurrent pain, and I think probably what in a clinical situation I have not done an MRCP. I would have straight away gone for an ERCP. Okay. Now the problem is having done an MRCP, we stuck with this picture. So
I think now with the medico-legal issue, it's better to do a MRCP than go for an ERCP.
I also think so, because diagnostic ERCP is now not suggested.
No, I'm not saying diagnostic ERCP. The question of doing the pre-test probability of CBD stone disease more than 80%, where medical legally it is valid, you can do an ERCP. Because ERCP is not only a diagnostic, it also therapeutic. So I'm not going into that aspect.
You may go straight away from ultrasound to ERCP or with a CT or some other investigation in it.
Straight away from ultrasound to ERCP. If the patient having a history of pain and LFT shows a cholestatic picture, the ultrasound shows gallstones and dilated CBD, we can straight away go for
Ubal, will it be an ERCP or an endo ultrasound to start with?
Yeah.
Endo ultrasound plus minus, yes.
Okay. Now,
this all depends upon which specialist see the patient first. If it goes to a surgeon, because he has no opportunity to do ERCP by his own, so they may suggest a biliary imaging rather than going straight away for an ERCP. I think directly sending to ERCP, we are little reluctant to do so.
Okay.
What about
Ubal, just I want to ask, you saw the ultrasound, the LFT you saw, and you want to do ERCP, that's fine. But what is the harm in someone doing an MRCP? What's your problem?
No, I don't have any problem.
Okay, that's what. Okay, so
I don't have any problem, but the thing is, there is because MRCP now you stuck up with what is the next.
No, you cannot say it's stuck up. You have to feel that it may not be a straightforward stone disease. You have additional information.
True.
Oh. So, Pata sir?
Yeah, sorry.
No, your inputs.
No, sorry, I was busy elsewhere, but you know, this doesn't look like a straightforward stone disease to me.
Okay.
So I'm worried the lower end doesn't look normal. So I want to be investigated further. Okay. Endo ultrasound to start with, and an ERCP obviously with some biopsy or something that is feasible.
When has the side viewing, Radha?
Yeah, and of course, obviously, ERCP will involve side viewing also, but we will go from then.
No.
I mean,
probably
side viewing alone may not be enough.
No, Bhaskaran wants to mention that side viewing scopy as a standalone investigation for evaluating this. Okay.
Yeah,
because,
agreed. I mean, that is understood. Yeah.
You have ERCP done if you think it is a tumor.
Because since tumor is also a possibility, we can always do a side viewing scopy, and
sure.
that was done in this patient. It was showing a prominent ampulla.
Okay.
Anyway,
I mean, that's what it will usually be. Yeah, but that doesn't stop us from going further.
Yeah. So what next? Is it endoscopic ultrasound or is it ERCP or CT?
What does the CT scan show?
So you want to go for a CT scan, sir? Next.
Yeah, definitely.
all of you are agreeing with CT scan or endoscopic ultrasound?
Endo-US. Endo-US will be a
I
better.
think
Yes.
EUS.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this patient actually has come with a MRCP as well as a CT scan. So I have to show that in that order. So MRCP is once I have read the report. He has also come with a CT. I have only few images of the CT. I'll read it for you. I don't have axial sections. The gallbladder has radiopaque stones. Interestingly, the gallbladder is contracted. Probably she must have had some subclinical cholecystitis for some time. And CBD is dilated in this particular reconstructed section. And the radiologists have pointed an arrow towards the lower end of the CBD. That's where he is trying to tell there is a lesion there. And this is another reconstructed image. You can see the dilated bile duct and dilated IHBR. Once again, he is trying to show a lesion in the lower end of the CBD. That's the section showing the pancreatic duct. Pancreatic duct seems to be just prominent.
Mildly dilated.
Yeah, you can see the pancreatic duct, but I mean, it's prominent. That's the information that we can.
Shankar, I launched a poll.
Yes, sir.
Please have a look at the poll and what is the next single investigation they would consider. Yeah,
okay.
Carry on, please.
Okay. Now the CT report by the radiologist is like this. He says hepatic ducts, both intra as well as extrahepatic bile ducts are dilated, and he's mentioning that there is a lesion measuring around 5 to 6 millimeters, and in the lower end of the CBD, and the Hounsfield unit he has mentioned is 80 to 90 Hounsfield units, and he doesn't stop here. He also says that is on this Hounsfield units on a plain scan. On administration of IV contrast, there is an enhancement of this lesion to the tune of 120 Hounsfield units. So why the radiologist is making this particular statement is that he wants to rule, he's telling that this is not a stone. Because if it is a stone, the density, the Hounsfield unit should remain same both on the plain scan as well as on the contrast scan. Here, after administration of the contrast, the small lesion around 6 millimeters seems to be showing some enhancement. And the final report is, once again, he says ill-defined, same radiologist only, ill-defined. So the poll report has come, sir. They want to do 20% wants CT, 63% want endoscopic ultrasound, and 17% want ERCP. That's the poll. So the CT report is like this: ill-defined enhancing mass lesion, the distal CBD with upstream dilatation. Once again, he mentions, I think he is your friend, Ubal. He says ERCP correlation.
This gastroenterologist will have some illicit connections.
So repeatedly he says ERCP correlation, and of course there is cholelithiasis, and there is a new finding in a CT scan to add to the confusion. He says there is cortical break with expansion of some iliac bone, some soft tissue density, eccentric calcifications. He says Cori primary, Cori secondary needs biopsy correlation. So that's it's a new finding, and interestingly, the patient was not having any bony pain or anything like that. She was quite comfortable, and I think for the if people want to give importance to that, you can give. Otherwise, we'll leave it like that.
Shankar, grossly that CT scan looks a stone disease. If he's not mentioned about the contrast enhancement, which I cannot appreciate that. If you see that gallbladder and gallbladder stone and this almost a similar appearance.
Yeah, correct.
And if you so the CT to me, I said it is a lower CBD stone, small.
No, that's correct. You are absolutely correct, because the gallbladder seems to be contracted, has stones on the distal. But why he specifically? Obviously, he must have seen in his monitor. Obviously, the picture is not showing itself, but he has seen all the entire gamut of multiple sections, and he's deliberately making that remark. And finally, he concludes that it's a mass lesion only. So,
see, Shankar, diagnosing a stone in the bile duct on a CT is not as easy as in an ultrasound, especially the lower end. Will there be a diagnostic difficulty? So they err more on a mass versus on a stone.
yeah, it all depends upon the appearance. Sometimes if you have a nicely a target-like lesion, then you can think of stones. A world appearance or obviously a radio-opaque lesion, then everything is fine. But in this particular case, he is persistently commenting that this is an ill-defined mass which is enhancing with contrast, and he is.
I think we have to respect that decision.
Pardon, sir? We have to
We
respect.
need to respect radiologist's decision.
Yeah, that's true. Opinion of the other panelists, sir?
Prathapan, what is your take on now the CT is done?
Yeah. Sir, I think there is a mass lesion. From the big, lower end CBD growth, most likely.
Okay.
Because there can be a polypoid small lesions in the lower bile duct. I have to disagree with Jayanti madam because the lower end bile duct polypoid lesion rather than the sclerosing type of tumor. Because we see more of sclerosing when the tumor is more proximal.
That's true.
Dr. Shankar,
yes, sir.
Since the lesion in the right ileum is a soft tissue density with cortical break and it is 9 centimeters.
9 centimeters, sir.
That's what it says. 9 into 4.1 into 7 in 7.
Okay, yes.
Somebody also is raising a question. Is it millimeter or centimeter? If it is millimeter, it won't break the cortex. So it should be a centimeter. So if you have a mass lesion of this size, I think we'll have to take that into consideration.
I think it's a typo error, sir. It's millimeters only, because we also saw the CT scan. Nothing was like that. We have to search for where exactly.
Okay,
so it's only millimeters.
Millimeter, yeah. Kannan, what is the take?
Yeah, I think it's a lower end bile duct pathology, probably a malignant or a benign papilloma like that.
Okay, sir. Fabulous. So what next?
Madam wanted to say something. She came up and went off. In response to Prathapan, madam?
It's just each one has their own opinion on that. No problem.
Okay, madam. Okay. So what next? Ubal, ERCP or endoscopic ultrasound or spyglass?
Yeah, everything is going to be difficult because it is only a 4 to 5 mm lesion. Because either EUS, ERCP, cholangioscopy, everything is going to be difficult because the lower end CBD is very critical area where you can miss any lesion. Unless it is stone, you can remove it. Because you said side viewing scopy, the ampulla looks normal. So whatever you are
ampulla looks prominent.
Prominent.
But there is no obvious growth. There is no growth.
Yeah, there is no growth. So whatever you want to see, you have to open up the ampulla, then only you see. So you need basically, even for ERCP, you need a sphincterotomy, open the ampulla and see. So that is the only way you can identify. UES, again, very small lesions. They can say whether it is a lesion or a stone, definitely. But confirming the diagnosis, it's going to be very difficult. The same thing for a cholangioscope. Cholangioscope, if a proximal lesions, we can easily hold the scope in a position. But very lowermost position, very difficult to locate and take a biopsy. So for a tissue diagnosis, the best thing will be a ERCP, sphincterotomy, and taking a Brusher biopsy. That will be the most for such a small lesions. I don't think anything else will give a satisfactory result in this condition.
So your preference
that also may be around 40 to 50%. Yeah.
So your preference will be to go for ERCP and give a sphincterotomy and take biopsies. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What are other panelists feeling? Will you go for EUS?
Tumor markers?
Tumor markers are not elevated, madam. CA19 not elevated.
Maybe we can do a breast cytology.
Breast cytology, okay. No,
that will do it by ERCP, brush and biopsy. Both we can do.
No, I just want to know because in many forums we hear that whenever you have a lower CBD obstruction of doubtful pathology, the investigation of choice is endoscopic ultrasound. EUS. Am I correct, Ubal? I just want to know.
That's what I said. It's true, mainly to differentiate between a stone disease and a malignant lesion.
Okay.
I mean that will give a lead, no, Ubal. So it'll give a roadmap as to how we to go next. That is what we wanted basically. So why are you not so much in favor of an endo ultrasound?
That's what I said. The endo ultrasound will give a, because here the question is whether it is a if at all any lesion which is a benign or malignant.
So your issue is that it may not be able to biopsy properly with the endo ultrasound, but you would position endo ultrasound first, then go for ERC.
Correct.
No, Ubal, here in this case, the basic issue is whether still are we dealing with a stone disease or a tumor. I mean, we are not, I mean, of course, the problem of whether it's a benign or malignancy comes later. So there is always a role for endoscopic ultrasound. And after that, you can always do an ERCP.
And that's what I said first. Do an ERCP first.
No. You are repeatedly proving that you are ERCP man and not an endoscopic ultrasound man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to show you endoscopic ultrasound pictures, and I'm going to ask you to read it.
Shankar, you have to take the majority opinion. You know? Equivocally, they voted for EUS.
Okay, sir.
That should include a large number of surgeons.
Okay, sir. So I think we went for an endoscopic ultrasound because right from the beginning I was telling that because whenever you take something for granted, then there will be a problem. So better to go for whatever that's available. We have the maximum information. So that's endoscopic ultrasound being done, and you can see a prominent ampulla there. And I don't know whether Ubal you are able to. If you can read it, you can read. Otherwise, I'll just read the report for you. I think that's a dilated bile duct. Am I correct? And there is something in the lower end. We do not know.
Like a sludge or something.
Sludge. Okay.
Boston, when did you specialize in this endo ultrasound reporting?
It doesn't seem to be attached to any of the walls. All around there's some kind of.
No. It seems to be infiltrating the walls. It is not a very smooth, rounded thing.
Okay. Anyway, even the CT also, one MRI film also showed something like that. Anyway, let's see.
So obviously, I mean, we'll go for the report only because we are not proficient in reading. This report says on duodenoscopy, there is a bulging distended ampulla with normal surface mucosa. That's the comment on the ampulla. And the endoscopic ultrasound says that the dilated CBD 1.5 centimeters up to the distal end, where there is 1.1 into 0.8 centimeter hypoechoic ill-defined mass distal CBD infiltrating the ampulla seen. So basically, endoscopic ultrasound has told us that it is a larger lesion. He says about 1.1 centimeters, 11 millimeters. In CT, it was only 6 millimeters. And the endoscopist is of the opinion that it is a mass lesion. And the final impression given was distal CBD mass infiltrating the ampulla. And they have taken a FNAC. And but unfortunately, the FNAC report has come as negative. Interestingly, it says that the smears are cellular, which means the sampling seems to be fairly adequate. But it shows reveal benign epithelial cells, predominantly arranged in sheets, clusters, as well as scattered single cells, background neutrophils, lymphocytes. There is no evidence of overt malignancy in the material examined. So probably this is what Ubal you are trying to tell.
Now we'll follow Ubal's points.
Okay. Ubal.
That's what even if I want in that situation after an EES, if it is infiltrating the ampulla, I would have straight away done a side weaving ampullary biopsy. That will give a better idea because the volume of tissue will be more. 25 gauge needle FNAC will be very minimal. You cannot get any tissue. Now they are having a FNB, the biopsy, they are able to do it. Even that this kind of small lesions taking in a lower CBD is very, very difficult by endoscopic ultrasound.
Okay.
So
does that mean, Ubal, that when you're going to do this under some sort of anesthesia, you're ready with a side viewing and ready for ERCP as well?
That's true.
Go with a sphincterotomy, not another sitting, another anesthesia, and another session. to do an ERCP and
no, if that's going to be a uniformly followed concept, then why he has not done a sphincterotomy and biopsy in this patient?
No, that is not a, because if it is a lower CBD malignant lesion, so no surgeon wanted to meddle with the case doing a ERCP and producing cholangitis or putting a stent. Because it is a right away case for a surgical condition. So here they establishing the diagnosis. So to establish the diagnosis, if the EES showed that there is a lesion which is infiltrating the ampulla, I would try to take a large chunk of biopsy by a
Gautam, are you there, Gautam?
Side wing scope.
Yes, sir.
What is your take?
I'm still not convinced with whether stone or this thing. Still, I favor stone disease. So I would want a ERCP and.
You want a ERCP because you're still suspecting a stone disease.
Yes, sir. I don't know, sir. The clinical picture doesn't correlate with the radiology completely. See, we had a patient who has multiple stones which are contracted. The Courvoisier still shouts in my face. If gallbladder is distended, more likely for malignancy. If gallbladder is contracted, it is likely to be in stone disease distally. So I am still having doubt with the radiology. I don't think they are unequivocally towards one pathology. So in that aspect, I will still have a clinical suspicion overweighing the radiologies which we have done so far. So I would like to investigate
but
further.
You wouldn't have considered endo ultrasound given a chance.
No, sir. EUS is fine. I would have. What my contention is, I will investigate this patient further. I will not.
With the stone as a predominant diagnosis.
Yes, sir. Still, stone will be slightly higher than the tumor part.
No, Gautam, my point is we have an MRCP, we have a CT, and both were suggesting both are not definitely telling it is stone, but we clinician can always suspect stones. But endoscopic ultrasound, I think that should say whether it's a stone or a mass lesion. You cannot suspect an endoscopic ultrasound report. But forget the biopsy, because biopsy, there can be a sampling problem. Because especially when a small lesion. But even after doing an endoscopic ultrasound, still doubting the stone is, I think, a problem. CT MRCP is okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I completely agree if I don't have the clinical presentation of this patient and other images.
Now, what exactly you mean by clinical presentation?
Sir, again, the patient is having a 3 months history with jaundice up to just 5.6. It is not in grossly progressive jaundice.
Actually, there are cases where we have seen periampullary tumors coming with a bilirubin of 5.
No, sir, this is distal CBD, which is likely to be progressive and it is not likely to wax and wane and those kind of stuff. I expect this patient to have a progressive variant if it's going to be a malignancy. Possibly it can be a polyp or something which got subacute obstruction and patient had a more gradual rise. I'm not denying there is a tumor, but still the classical feature of this thing is somehow it's not correlating with the picture. So that's the reason I still keep stone slightly above any kind of lower CBD pathology. And agreed, if I see the EUS where they have clearly mentioned it's an hypoechoic mass lesion and biopsy has taken, I will be having a suspicion of tumor above stone. But somehow clinical and radiology is not matching completely for me.
No, but this endoscopic ultrasound, they have clearly mentioned that a 1.1 centimeter hypoechoic, ill-defined mass distal CBD infiltrating the ampulla is very clear.
So that's what I'm saying. Given this EUS report, it's definitely tumor, but somehow it is not correlating with the clinical picture.
Okay, that's a gut feeling. That's a Gautam's gut feeling.
Okay, yes. Okay. So rest of the panelists, after the endoscopic ultrasound, what do you suggest, sir?
I would
ERCP, sphincterotomy, big biopsy.
ERCP, sphincterotomy, big biopsy. Okay. Kanan, sir?
Yeah, this is very difficult to say. As Radha said, ERCP may have a role here.
Okay.
Radhaban.
Yeah, I think we need a biopsy because the lesion size is so small and doing a direct pancreatic duodenectomy is not acceptable. So try to get a biopsy at least.
No, I just want to ask, suppose even ERCP, there is no stones and your biopsy is inconclusive. Then would you like to?
No, then you have to proceed.
Okay.
Because the patient needs some sort of a biliary drainage or even a resectional procedures, because that is the final word for this problem.
Okay. So,
Shankar,
yes, sir.
ERCP will rule out a stone disease.
Okay.
So once stone disease is ruled out, so it's a mass lesion.
Okay.
If biopsy may come positive, if it comes positive, our lives become easy. If it
Okay.
comes negative, then of course, as Prathapan says, that we have to think of some surgical relief.
Okay.
Agree, sir. I think that is the.
So basically, ERCP is mainly to rule out a stone disease,
Right?
Which is still lurking there. And actually, in this particular patient, I talked to the endoscopic ultrasound person, and he said that there is no stones at all. So I even asked why, if there is a suspicion about ERCP, he told no, it is not stones. He is very clear about it.
Shankar, yeah.
Yes, sir. Ravichandran, sir. Yes, sir.
Shankar,
Yes, sir.
see, after seeing this discussion, everything is pointing out that there is probably, it may be a type of an IgG4 disease.
Yes, sir.
Or IPM. These are all the only two diseases that comes to my mind after seeing these kind of details.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So since the endoscopist was very dogmatic that it is only it's definitely not stones, then we decided to go for, we explained everything, because ERCP is definitely invasive, and just to rule out a stone disease, Prathapan, you only told there is no role for diagnostic ERCP for a stone, because right now we have other modalities like MRCP, endoscopic ultrasound to rule out a stone.
He'll correct himself now.
No. You just, I mean, yes, Prathapan.
Yeah, I think just to rule out stone, we don't require ERCP, but if EUS definitely differentiate between a stone and a mass lesion.
Yeah.
So
at this juncture, Prathapan thinks ERCP is necessary.
Okay. So, so what we explained everything, because already patient has gone through multiple imagings and investigations, and we explained everything that there is a lesion there, but it is quite small, and all the imaging findings are suggestive of a mass lesion there. So we gave the option of going for surgery, because the sonologist was very clear that there is no stone. So and all the panelists agreed that if there is no stones, definitely they will go for surgery, because even if you get a benign condition, you're okay with that. That's what all the panelists agreed.
Hello, now.
Before going, Shankar, so I missed the question, but my take at this juncture is, okay, many investigations are done fine, but that doesn't give us a thing to go for a Whipple's procedure straight away. Okay. Still, we have to have an ERCP and try to rule out stone disease before we go for a definite research, is my take.
Okay, but the point is, as it stands today, there is no need to do a diagnostic ERCP for stone disease. That's also we have to keep in mind. In this case,
but the circumstances are different. We can't extrapolate that sentence to everything.
No, if you say Ubal was very clear that he said that he will do sphincterotomy and try to take biopsies, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
possible. Okay. But just to rule out a stone disease, I will do ERCP is not allowed.
No.
Okay, I'll show you the poll now, Shankar.
Okay.
See the poll.
Yeah, poll ERCP 80%. US already over 13%. I think, sir, this is a
repoll. Repoll with the same headings.
Okay. So ERCP 80%. Okay.
So
Shankar, why ERCP at this situation? Because here there is lot of discrepancy in the investigation.
Correct.
As Gautam said, there is any investigation ultrasound wise, it is a stone disease. only the CT and MRI, we picked up some small lesion. Again, there's a discrepancy between a CT size and a endoscopic ultrasound size. Endoscopic ultrasound, it depends on any ultrasound for that matter, it is operator dependent. So if you see the side viewing scopy, the ampulla is very big in the sense it is not the normal ampulla. Okay. So whatever it is, it can be a whatever the bile duct pathology, it can be the ampullary portion of the bile duct pathology, not necessarily a lower CBD. Okay. So what will ERCP will help? ERCP will give a exact cholangiogram. Okay. Where exactly there is an obstruction. It is in the intraduodenal portion or above that. Okay. That's a clear-cut idea of where is obstruction. If you do a sphincterotomy, suppose for that matter some kind of choledochal cyst. I'm not saying this patient. A choledochal cyst will exactly the picture exactly looks like this. So if you do a sphincterotomy, that is a treatment of choice in a ERCP. So if it is not a choledochal cyst, there whatever the tumor, that is, I think it is in and around the ampulla. So your side viewing scopy and ERCP biopsy will have a gold standard in this condition before going for any surgical adventure. Okay. I think that will be an exact investigation for this patient.
Okay. Okay. We'll take Madam's opinion now.
No opinion. Now we go for ERCP at the 5. I just want to know what was IgG. Do we have any IgG4 serum IgG4 report?
We have not thought about that, madam, because we have not done it. Yeah.
IgG4 usually produce a long segment stricture, madam, in the lower CBD.
Mass lesions are.
Lesions have been reported. Yeah.
IgG4 produces more of a stricturous lesion rather than a suspected mass.
We have seen mass-like lesions in the gallbladder. We have seen in CBD.
Okay, madam. Okay. So we didn't go for ERCP. We took up the case for surgery, and we explained. Of course, we had a good counseling with the patient, and we told that even at the end of the surgery, you can have a benign pathology, but we are definitely sure it's not a stone disease.
What did you feel on table?
Feel just what you feel when you palpate an ampullary tumor. There was some prominent ampullary tumor, and actually the last time when we are discussing about ampulectomy, this may be a retrospect. This is long back. This could be an ideal case for trying an ampulectomy and going for a frozen section. But I just want to show this case mainly to how decision making can be a problem in atypical cases. So we did a Whipple's, and that's the cut open specimen. There is a. Can anyone tell what could be the diagnosis?
Arsinoid.
Neuroendocrine tumor.
Arsinoid.
Neuroendocrine tumor.
Neuroendocrine tumor. Carcinoid. Okay. Ubal.
Most likely net.
Ampullary fibrosis.
Brunner gland hyperplasia.
Gland hyperplasia. Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Okay. Brunner gland hyperplasia. Okay.
That's in the duodenum, no? But the ampullary area, there is something, no?
Ampulla, sometimes after passing out a stone, they can go for a stricture. Probably any stricture.
Okay. Gautam?
Ectopic pancreas, just because others have told so many diagnoses.
Okay.
Just thinking what others. IPNB is unlikely given the kind of lesion this is. So that will be the second part. Ectopic pancreas, rare things. That's it.
Okay. So finally, it was the biopsy report came as ectopic pancreatic tissue. Okay, that ampullary tumor, which was like looking exactly like a prominent ampulla. It was.
So can we rewind a little back? Post EOS biopsy and stop where Ubal wanted to an ERCP.
Okay.
If would have positioned ERCP here, would the decision have been different?
Obviously, yeah. That's why we learn from mistakes in decision making. That's why I'm presenting this case. So definitely, definitely at that point, if I'm forced to reach a situation right now, I'll definitely go for the ERCP. So I just want
the biopsy. The EOS biopsy should have picked up the pancreatic tissue, no? Because no, it just picked up sheets of epithelial cells or something.
Sir, they picked up the lesion there, but we didn't believe them. That is the issue. because it showed highly cellular.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just benign. That is the problem.
No, I think, sir, I think what is important is every specialist, I mean, each one thinks differently. If this particular endoscopist felt that he should have done a sphincterotomy and biopsy, nothing prevented him from doing it. So I just want to tell that in a given situation, two different people are thinking differently. So endoscopist is the best person to decide about all these things.
Okay, Shankar, if you've done an ERCP and took a biopsy and that has come as ectopic pancreatic tissue, will you stop there?
Yeah, I'll stop there. What is
no, but do you? No,
I don't know why you're asking that question.
No.
Who will
is it
further?
Commonly, do you ever see ectopic pancreatic tissue in that area?
That I will show the literature. What I'm going to, a couple of slides I have.
Ubal, we'll take other people's opinion. If ERCP sphincterotomy biopsy comes as ectopic pancreatic tissue, we think that you are taking biopsy from pancreas and not something somewhere else or some deeper.
You're going to take biopsy from for side-view scope. You're going to take a biopsy from pancreas. Suppose if you see, basically there is an obstruction. So endoscopic sphincterotomy will relieve the obstruction. That is the one thing. Okay. If the pancreatic tissue is obstructing that part of the ampulla, that is a treatment. That's what I said. It is like a choledochal. If you remove that, if you de-riff that area, if it is going to relieve the obstruction, that is a treatment. Even if it is an ectopic pancreatic tissue, if you are doing adequate biopsy and removing, suppose if the patient have a recurrent problem, then there is a different issue. Now the present problem, see, we are ruling out a malignant etiology. There is only a ectopic pancreatic tissue. That doing a sphincterotomy, temporary stenting, that will solve the problem.
Yeah,
that's what I said.
No, you are absolutely correct, Ubal. Because you also felt that the ampulla is very prominent. Am I correct? It's it's not a normal ampulla, and probably
that doesn't look like a normal ampulla. If other day we are discussing, if the same case came to me, I would have always maybe I would have advised on an amplectomy, because this is I think one of the ideal situations to do an amplectomy, endoscopic amplectomy.
Have you seen ectopic pancreatic tissue at the ampulla, Ubal?
No, I have not seen it.
Have anyone of you seen this ectopic tissue in the ampulla presenting with this kind of picture? Anyone in the panelist?
No. Dr. Shankar, can you show the cut section?
No, but
where is that 1 centimeter mass?
Which one, sir?
Can you go back to that cut section? You opened the distal bile duct and the ampulla.
Yeah.
Where is that so-called 1 centimeter mass here?
Are you seeing the cursor, sir?
That is far away from the.
Yeah, actually it's not exactly at the ampulla. It's juxta-ampullary.
Okay.
No.
Few millimeters, probably.
How will that show as an obstruction lower end on a MRCP?
This patient actually had Stone disease. This lesion identified. I think that may be the reason, because the stone is not there. That doesn't mean that there was no stone. It might have passed through the normal pathway. Okay. That may be one reason.
So it may be, but the duct wall is little thick. That's all. Maybe it is a benign stricture caused by repeated passage of stones.
So possible.
And this small little nodule is probably.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing, Bhaskaran. That whatever that nodule is causing, not causing obstruction lower end. It's away from the lower end.
Not causing.
It is just an incidental finding.
Yeah.
No, usually ectopic pancreas produces symptoms when there is some pancreatitis or development of secondary tumors in that pancreatic tissue, rather than just by the presence of pancreatic tissue, because it's a developmental abnormality and it will not produce a late symptom unless there is a complication associated with that. That is what I feel.
No, in this case, this ectopic pancreas was actually, it was located in a very awkward situation and confusing the whole matter. And so that's what make this case a little interesting in decision-making process. And actually, I searched the literature for ectopic pancreatic tissue presenting as an obstructive jaundice. Actually, there are so far around more than 10 cases that has been reported in the literature, that ectopic pancreas presenting as an ampullary lesion and producing obstructive jaundice. Actually, this is a case which was published in American Journal of Surgery, and this is a case published from. We had Udwadia's talk today. It was from the Bombay group. It was from Leelavati Hospital, where they have had an ectopic pancreatic tissue mimic as ampullary tumor, and they have done a Whipple's operation, and it was a post-operative diagnosis. And this was published. This was published from the SGPJ group. It was published by the pathologists at SGPJ, where they talk about an ectopic pancreatic tissue presenting as an ampullary tumor with obstructive jaundice. Once again, they talk about diagnostic and therapeutic dilemma. There also they have done a Whipple's. The biopsy reports come. This is another publication. Once again, they have done a Whipple's operation, and the report came as. But this is the only paper where they have attempted. Of course, this patient had other problems like a small hydatid cyst in the liver and symptomatic cholelithiasis, where they went for open surgery. And at the end of cholecystectomy, they did a cholangiogram. They had a obstruction at the lower end, so they opened the duodenum and did an ampulectomy. They found a nodule, and that came as. This is the only case where they could escape from doing a pancreatic or duodenectomy. All other the cases reported in the literature, most of them have undergone a Whipple's operation, and in this case also we have done it. But luckily, the patient has not developed any pancreas-specific complications of Whipple's. Luckily, because we all definitely doing a Whipple's. That day, Pradhapan was asking about doing a Whipple's for a benign condition. So I told I will present one more case, and this is the case that I want to present. And definitely, there are situations where you will reach a point where you have to take a call. How far? Suppose even in this case, if you do an ERCP and sometimes biopsy comes as inconclusive, then you are stuck there. But definitely in this patient, retrospectively, an ERCP or a sphincterotomy with a biopsy should have thrown more light. And if that report has come as ectopic pancreas, then we should have stopped that. So that completes the case presentation, sir, and I open for final comments from the panelists.
Shankar, if I had not done endo ultrasound, which
Yes,
showed
sir.
only benign lesion, that's the reason why I wanted to go for ERCP. If I had not done endo ultrasound, I would have straight away gone for a Whipple's.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay. Probably in this case, every investigation was confusing the matter than helping the clinician.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, if ERCP gives a diagnosis of ectopic pancreas tissue, then how to relieve that obstructive jaundice, sir?
You can, as Ubal was telling, you can do a sphincterotomy and you can put a stent. That's enough. Because
okay, after removing the stent, also he may develop again the jaundice. Sir.
Yeah, but definitely for a, it is not a very tight stricture or something like that. There is some obstruction. It could be something like a past stone producing stricture. And we are not sure whether in this case, the ectopic pancreatic tissue was producing actually the obstruction. That's also there. And the removed ectopic pancreatic histopathology was not showing any malignancy there. So if it was a preoperatively picked up diagnosis, then I think there is no need for going. You can go for an ampulectomy. As Ubal was telling, you can excise it completely. An ampulectomy, endoscopic ampulectomy can be done.
So can you have a comment from Dr. Hassan from Malaysia? Sir, you can unmute and make a comment on the Dr. Hassan, yeah. Can you unmute, sir? You just click on that unmute thing. Okay, Rajaratnam has got something to say, yeah. Bhaskaran and the chat box.
Somebody has asked, is there a possibility of malignant transformation in the ectopic pancreas, given in literature?
Yeah, there is. Yes, there is.
There is.
I have operated one patient suspecting GIST stomach, and it came as adenocarcinoma pancreas. So I was wondering how a sleeve resection of stomach, when I searched the literature, there was similar cases reported. There is a possibility of adenocarcinoma pancreas arising in ectopic pancreatic tissue.
For the benefit of the postgraduates, the common site of ectopic pancreatic tissue is stomach, which you can identify on endoscopy because you will have a submucosal lesion with an umbilication. The other sites includes Meckel's diverticulum, jejunum and ileum, and ampulla is a very rare site of ectopic pancreatic tissue. And I still remember recently in one of our forum, Kannan sir, you have presented a case of ectopic pancreas presenting as a bleed, where you did a small bowel resection.
I think the ectopic pancreas tissue forms the differential diagnosis of submucosal lesion in the stomach. Sometimes it may be misdiagnosed as GIST because the umbilication may be the one which leads to confusion.
Yeah.
But the umbilication in GIST is due to ulceration, and in ectopic pancreatic tissue is due to the presence of duct in that particular area. That area represents the duct of ectopic pancreas. I think so.
That's correct. Yeah.
Any comments from the audience? The Kanagwal is there everywhere. Yeah. What's your comment? Yes. Dr. Hassan, yes.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Kanak. How you have time to be everywhere? Yeah?
You've been running between meeting by minute. Like I don't run through that way. You just finished Udvadia's meeting and then you came to Shankar sir's presentation. I envy you, Pata sir.
Yeah. What is your comment on first Shankar's series and secondly?
Maybe I think I will add, as ever in Pancreas Club, I will add a couple of slides at the end after Shankar sir's some recent advances. Maybe that will complete Shankar sir's compliment to his case presentation. I will finish 2 slides with that. Maybe if all of you agree, I can try to do that.
Yeah, fine. Dr. Hassan, you want to say something?
Yes. This is obstructive jaundice, and you make, I see many investigations, and the biopsy is not conclusive that it is inflammatory cells, and after that you suspect it may be benign, and also we put in our consideration it is malignant, possibility malignancy because insufficient specimen. So in this, we want to suspect we need to relieve this obstruction by ERCP and stenting first. And if we can take biopsy by this ERCP, because it is not only diagnostic but therapeutic here, until we confirm, we can go to make weapon operation if there is any malignancy, susceptibility, or suspicion of this. This is what I can speak about this. We make endoscopic ultrasonography, you make CT, you make biopsy guided by this ultrasonography endoscopic, but not conclusive. We have obstructive jaundice, we must relieve this first. And then we can correct this jaundice and relieve, and we consider it, if it is malignant, we must proceed to weapon operation, or accordingly, if we don't detect, if it is benign like ectopic, I hear that it is ectopic pancreatic or other, but in this obstructive jaundice, which we suspect malignancy, weapon operation. But first we do, as I said, a relief of jaundice by endoscopic stenting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well taken, yes. Dr. Ravichandran?
We have already discussed a lot. And I don't have
Sorry, Dr. Ravichandran, all the while I was thinking Palniappan. So sorry, sir.
No. Palniappan is my father's name, nothing else.
Okay, because first time we are seeing you on the...
Sir, I want an opinion from both Dr. Ravichandran sir and Kannan sir regarding such rare scenarios, because you must have had a large experience in Stanley of doing a pancreatoduodenectomy. Have you had such surprises in your series?
Yeah, I have done one group pancreatitis Whipple's.
Okay, sir.
And then one biopsy came as benign fibrosis of the bile duct.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Only these two I have done benign lesions Whipple's.
Okay. Ravichandran sir?
I don't remember anything like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, some atypical, not adenocarcinoma, the final report not being adenocarcinoma. Because
Shankar, we have seen so many cases of some lower end obstruction, not knowing what it is, and often stenting it. We don't see any mass lesion. We don't see anything particular. Actually, lower end obstruction is not uncommon. We always think that some stone has passed and caused fibrosis, ampullary stenosis, and so on. We do some brush and this and that, doesn't say anything. Then we just stent it and leave it at that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Yeah, if there are no further comments, it's a nice Saturday evening, and then I wish you all have a good Sunday. We'll see you back on Monday night.
Okay,
I think Sunday rest will do some good for you, Shankar.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, all of you. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Oh, yes. Kanagavel is saying something. Yeah, Kanaks, you want to share your screen for 2 slides?
No, not today. From Monday onwards, I'll coordinate with Shankar. But I wanted to ask a reverse question to Dr. Shankar.
Yes.
We had been talking about possibly insignificant final pathology coming out of a Whipple. How many of these cases, maybe Ubal sir also can take this question, how many of the cases which you have stented considering it could be a non-significant block, ending up after 6 months or 1 year coming up with full-blown malignancy?
Yeah. Ubal, that's for you.
I don't remember anything like that, but one of the cases where Professor Karbi did for so many years of repeated ERC for lower CBD stricture, after 5-6 years turned out to be a malignancy, but that I don't think that we missed the primary lesion.
Okay.
So here I think from the second slide I said it is ERCP because I think we did too many investigations for this.
Actually, to answer Kanagavel's question, we had one case recently, a young lady who presented with cholelithiasis with obstructive jaundice.
Yes.
And she was taken up for, of course, MRCP was done. She had a cholelithiasis, but distal biliary stricture only. It's a smooth stricture. There is no evidence of any mass lesion. And of course, endoscopic ultrasound was not done, but they attempted ERCP and tried to remove stones. There was no stones. But what this lady, she developed a post-operative pancreatitis, and she took some time for settling down. And finally, the gastroenterologist handed over the case to me, telling that you can go ahead and do because she had a distal CBD stricture. But there is no evidence of any mass lesion. But endoscopic ultrasound was not done, definitely. So I did a cholecystectomy, and it was grossly dilated bile duct. We did a choledochoduodenostomy.
Okay.
And there are unusually large lymph nodes in the hepatoduodenal, which we took for biopsy, and everything was reactive only. I still remember this lady came after 6 months with once again some kind of symptoms, and CT done at that point of time showed a space occupying lesion in the pancreas. So I am not sure whether endoscopic ultrasound at that point of time would have picked up this lesion, because repeated MRI has not shown any mass lesion.
Sure.
So definitely there are instances where I don't want to tell like Ubal that no case will come like that. it's all depends upon how aggressively you are evaluating. And the very important point is how are you correlating with the clinical parameters, lab investigations, and the patient profile. Gautam was repeatedly telling about the correlating all the parameters. So that's very important. And sometimes, despite everything, there can be surprises.
Yeah, one more surprise I want to tell.
Yes, sir.
One patient had a tumor, periampullary tumor, biopsy was endoscopic biopsy was malignancy.
Yes, sir.
And postoperatively it turned out to be a tuberculosis.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Long back we did.
Yes. This is also well known.
Next week I am planning a surgery as Kanagavel asked, 2 stenting apart 1.5 years that I discussed last week. So that patient final biopsy came as adenocarcinoma after 1.5 years of investigation and biopsy. So that is not very rare.
No. So nowadays, we frequently get reports where they say distal CBD stricture in the because of the MRCP, but they are not able to categorize. When you don't have the classical cigar stub appearance, you have a smooth stricture. We presume that it could be because of the stone disease, but you never know how many of them are harboring some early malignancy there.
Thanks, well taken, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for answering.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Have a nice Sunday. We'll see you back on Monday.
Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.